There is a machine quietly calculating your prices the exact moment you stand in front of a shelf at Walmart, and most shoppers have never even heard of it. If you are still grocery shopping using your old habits, there is a very good chance you are paying more than the person standing right next to you. This video will show you how to avoid being left behind. You'd be awesome if you subscribe and like this video. 1. The new floor plan trap. If you recently visited a familiar Walmart store and felt like something was a bit off, the paths are no longer the same, the shelves have shifted, and the entryways look completely different, you're not imagining things. In 2026, Walmart is in the process of remodeling over 650 stores across the United States. And this is by no means a simple makeover just for aesthetics. Behind every single inch of rearranged space is a meticulously calculated equation designed to make every step a customer takes generate as much revenue as possible. The most common and oldest tactic in the retail industry is to push the essentials that everyone needs as far away from the entrance as possible. Milk, eggs, and bread, items on almost every family's grocery list, are now placed all the way at the very back of the store. To get to them, you are forced to walk past dozens of other aisles, and that is exactly when the real psychological game begins. Along those central main aisles, Walmart displays all kinds of products labeled as markdowns, attractively illuminated, and positioned right at eye level. Most of these items are not nearly as cheap as the discount tags suggest. They are simply waiting for you to let your guard down and toss them into your cart. For younger folks, this might just be a minor detail, but for older adults, walking an extra few hundred yards every single shopping trip is no joke. The more fatigued the body becomes, the weaker the brain's capacity for self-control gets, a fact that consumer behavior researchers proved long ago. When your feet are tired and your mind just wants to wrap up the grocery trip quickly, you tend to say yes to anything that looks like a good deal, even if that item was never on your shopping list to begin with. That is why so many older shoppers leave Walmart with a total bill significantly higher than their initial budget, without even understanding themselves why they bought so much. A detail that few people pay attention to is that the areas closest to the entrance are typically reserved for electronics and seasonal items, the exact moment when you are still alert and most easily swayed by emotion. The deeper you go into the store, the more fatigue accumulates, and by the time you finally reach the milk and egg counter at the back, most shoppers have drained much more mental energy than they realize. Knowing this, you can be more proactive. Walk straight to the section you need first, rather than letting the displays in the middle of the aisles make the decisions for you. However, getting tired feet from walking is not the biggest concern on this trip. The next thing is what will truly force many people to review every single dollar they spend. 2. When AI algorithms quietly change shelf prices. The part that catches many people off guard isn't in the aisles, but right on the price tags you glance at every day without a second thought. Starting this year, Walmart has replaced all traditional paper labels with electronic shelf labels across its entire U.S. store system. This might sound like a harmless step toward modernization, but this technology allows the company to change the prices of over 120,000 products simultaneously in just a matter of minutes with a single click from headquarters. The real issue isn't the speed, but what stands behind it, a concept currently sparking intense debate in the U.S. retail industry known as surveillance pricing. Utilizing Bluetooth sensors and cameras installed around the shelf areas, the system can track shopping behaviors and even gauge the urgency of demand at that exact moment. When the algorithm detects a sudden surge in shoppers during rush hour, or when the weather abruptly takes a turn for the worse, forcing everyone to stock up, the shelf prices can quietly tick upward without you ever knowing. This is not fiction. In early July of this year, New Jersey passed a piece of legislation called the Fair Pricing Protection Act, aimed at freezing the rollout of electronic labels and strictly banning algorithmic pricing on essential foods. The association representing food and commercial workers has also spoken out, warning that this type of pricing is quietly siphoning money from consumers' pockets in real time, all while most customers remain completely unaware. For younger folks, a discrepancy of a few dozen cents might not be worth worrying about, but for older adults living on fixed monthly pensions or Social Security benefits, every time the price quietly goes up, it is a genuine hit to an already tight budget. The problem isn't just that prices are rising, it's that you no longer have any way to know beforehand to prepare, the way those old paper labels used to let you. If you are still grocery shopping at the exact same familiar times every week, you might very well be paying more than the person standing right next to you without even realizing it. 3. The shrinkflation packaging trap. One of the most sophisticated tactics used today is rather the very box you've been buying for decades without ever bothering to re-examine it. Amid the soaring prices of 2026, instead of raising the retail price and startling shoppers away, many major brands, along with Walmart, are opting for a much more discreet approach. They keep the exact same packaging, the same familiar colors, and even the identical number on the price tag, while quietly cutting the product volume inside by about 10 to 15%. This type of change is particularly dangerous for those who are used to shopping by memory and visual intuition rather than closely reading every single number. When you see a cereal box, a laundry detergent bottle, or a pack of diapers with a familiar shape, your natural reflex is to confidently toss it into your cart, completely unaware that you just paid the exact same amount of money for significantly less product than your previous purchase, sometimes resulting in just a few fewer diapers inside a shell package that looks absolutely no different than before. The only way to escape this trap is to break the habit of looking at the large numbers in the center of the price tag and instead shift your attention to the smaller text located in the corner, usually printed in orange, which displays the unit price such as per ounce, per quart, or per pound. This is the real number that accurately reflects how much you are paying for what you are actually taking home. Next time you stand in front of two boxes of the same product type but from different brands or in different sizes, do not rush to compare the bolded total price in the middle. Look over at that unit price line instead. Whichever box has the lower number here is the truly economical choice, regardless of how much of a bargain the exterior packaging appears to be. 4. How to build a smart grocery shopping schedule. No matter how technology changes, Walmart must still maintain a numerical coding system on its price tags for internal inventory management, and this is exactly the weapon that older shoppers can absolutely learn to turn to their advantage. When you spot a price ending in 0.97, it is a definitive indicator of a clearance item that has been marked down from the manufacturer's original price. If the final digits are 0.00 or 0.88, that indicates a markdown determined by that specific store manager, typically applied exclusively to floor models or local overstock, completely unrelated to other branches. On the other hand, if you see a price ending in 0.01, understand that this is the absolute lowest price this item has ever been and will ever be. It will not drop any further, and it is about to disappear from the shelves completely. As for the letter C appearing on the label, it is the clearest signal that the product has been discontinued or will no longer be restocked. If it is a medication you take daily or a familiar essential item, this is exactly the time to buy enough for long-term use, because no more inventory will be arriving after that. Besides the codes on the price tags, there is another insider tip that few people pay attention to, which connects directly to the very AI system just mentioned above. Electronic shelf labels allow Walmart to implement automated markdowns on fresh food when items approach their expiration dates, with discounts typically ranging from 10 to 20% on meat, dairy, and produce. Interestingly, the prime window to catch these markdowns usually falls between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. every day. By grocery shopping during that time slot, you not only avoid the rush hour crowds, but also have the opportunity to buy fresh groceries at the best possible price point before that exact same algorithm cycles back to push prices up in the evening. In other words, a technology that seemed to only work against the shopper, if read correctly at the right time, can become an advantage lying squarely in your hands. A very minor oversight in the next step could land you in a position where you have to explain yourself to the police, and most older adults have absolutely no idea about this. 5. The self-checkout nightmare. There is a truth that few people are willing to admit about Walmart's self-checkout lanes this year. They are no longer the convenient shortcut they used to be, but are gradually becoming a quiet gamble for the very people using them. Faced with skyrocketing retail shrink, many locations across the country have quietly pulled out their self-checkout kiosks, with some returning entirely to traditional cashier-staffed lanes, like one store in South Philadelphia. In quite a few other locations, self-checkout lanes are now strictly reserved for paid membership subscribers or the chain's delivery drivers, forcing the majority of older shoppers back into regular checkout lanes that have already suffered staffing cuts, making wait times longer and longer. At the self-checkout kiosks that remain operational, a new camera system has been installed to monitor every hand movement of the customer, cross-referencing it in real time with the scanned barcode. If you drop an item into a shopping bag before the machine registers a confirmation beep, the screen will automatically lock up, displaying a message that an associate is on the way, along with a slow-motion replay of your exact hand movement, right in front of everyone waiting in line behind you. The vast majority of these false alarms stem from entirely ordinary situations. A pumpkin or a bundle of produce that doesn't have a pre-printed barcode requires you to look up a 4-digit PLU code on the screen. Just a single wrong keystroke, and the system treats it as an unpaid item. A case of bottled water placed on the bagging scale before the machine registers the weight, or a reusable tote bag brought from home set down a split second too early is enough for the machine to misinterpret it as an unexpected item. What few people know is that the associates working within this system have quietly given that software a sarcastic nickname, implying it doesn't see anything accurately and only excels at false alarms. A cell phone placed on the scale or a barcode obscured while turning a bag is enough for the machine to trigger an alert as if you were intentionally shoplifting. For older adults with slightly shaky hands or failing eyesight, making a technical error at these kiosks is practically an everyday occurrence, but the security protocol does not differentiate that from intentional behavior. A law firm in the Lexington area of South Carolina has documented numerous older clients facing criminal shoplifting charges over an accidental technical mistake. Leaving the kiosk with an unscanned item, even completely unintentionally, can still lead to short-term jail time and a criminal record that follows a person for the rest of their life. Even more concerning, the policy for handling these incidents at many locations includes a trespass warning enforced across the entire nationwide system, meaning a single misunderstanding is enough to ban you from ever stepping foot inside any other Walmart location. The most practical way to protect yourself is not to try to scan with extreme caution, but to know when to avoid that machine altogether. If your cart contains loose produce without barcodes, bulky items that are difficult to fit on the bagging scale, or more than 10 items, proactively line up at a cashier-staffed lane from the very start. If the kiosk triggers an error halfway through, the safest approach is to stand completely still. Do not attempt to fix it yourself or rescan multiple times, as fumbling with the machine can sometimes draw even more scrutiny from the security system. Instead, simply wait for an associate to assist you. Yet, there is still a very brief window before you touch that payment screen, and that exact moment is when many people lose their hard-earned money without even realizing it. 6. Prepaid Visa card scam warning. There is a scam quietly targeting the very area you probably thought was the safest, right at the self-checkout lane, a place where it's supposedly just you and the machine. Scammers begin by opening a transaction to load funds onto a prepaid Visa card, with the load amount usually running around $20 plus a service fee of nearly $5, and then intentionally leaving that screen active without completing it. Immediately after, a shopper steps up, often an older adult, because they are less likely to habitually double-check the screen before scanning their items, and begins scanning their own groceries as usual. Upon checking out, that amount is accidentally bundled into the pending prepaid Visa card transaction, and the scammer standing nearby simply walks over, grabs the card, and leaves, essentially receiving free money from a complete stranger. The only way to avoid becoming a victim of this trick lies in a few seconds of observation before you touch anything. First, always look at the screen before scanning your very first item. The total displayed must start at 0, and there should not be any pre-existing product lines inside. If you see unfamiliar text appearing on the screen, such as card loading, Visa, or any fee you do not clearly understand, do not hesitate to hit the cancel transaction button immediately or call over an associate to reset the entire machine before starting over from scratch. And before stepping away from the register, take half a minute to cross-reference the product list printed on your paper receipt with the items actually sitting in your shopping cart. That half a minute can be the distance between walking away safe and accidentally paying the tab for someone you have never met. Do you think you are legally required to comply with every request from a security guard the moment you leave the checkout lane? The answer might surprise you. 7. Your rights during a door receipt check. The moment you step out of the checkout area and head toward the exit doors, there is an almost certain chance that an employee will be standing there to stop you, requesting to see the receipt for your purchase. The natural reflex for the vast majority of shoppers is to hand it over immediately without ever thinking about whether they are actually required to do so. The truth is, this depends heavily on the specific type of store you are standing in. At wholesale membership clubs like Costco or Sam's Club, you genuinely have an obligation to allow a receipt check, as this is explicitly stated in the terms and conditions you agreed to when signing up for the membership, and refusing means risking permanent revocation of your membership status. But Walmart is a completely different story because it is a standard retail store that does not require a membership card to enter. The moment your transaction at the register is finalized, the legal ownership of the merchandise transfers entirely to you. Refusing to show your receipt is not evidence of shoplifting, nor does it establish probable cause for employees to have the right to detain you. Store employees do not have the right to block your path, grab your arm, or search your purse or bags unless they have direct evidence that shoplifting is actively occurring. If someone intentionally detains you against your will without clear evidence, that action can be legally viewed as false imprisonment, a serious violation of civil rights rather than a mere trivial matter at the exit doors. In fact, Walmart's own internal training policies explicitly state that employees must let customers pass if they decline to show their receipt. The wisest approach is always a combination of politeness and assertiveness, a slight smile, a clear statement that you have already paid and would prefer to skip the receipt check, and continuing to walk is enough to handle the vast majority of situations. And if you unfortunately happen to be detained unreasonably, you have every right to file a complaint for false imprisonment, rather than silently enduring it because you think you have no other option. But if there were a way for you to bypass both the exit door situation and all the headaches just mentioned entirely, would you want to know? 8. Leveraging technology to avoid risks. There is a much simpler solution already sitting right at your fingertips, and most older adults have never even thought about using it. To support older clients during the 2026 upgrade wave, Walmart has integrated a free home delivery service for prescription medications dedicated to those who subscribe to their paid membership plan. Prescriptions are processed and delivered straight to your doorstep completely free of charge, with delivery times usually taking under 1 hour. The first and most obvious benefit lies in physical health. You no longer have to travel, you don't have to wait exhaustingly at the pharmacy counter, and you significantly reduce the risk of being exposed to all sorts of pathogens in a highly crowded place. For older adults, every time an unnecessary trip is avoided, it is another instance of protecting oneself. But the truly valuable benefit lies in another aspect that few people pay attention to. By receiving your delivery directly at home, you virtually eliminate every single trap mentioned from the very beginning. There is no longer any need to walk through a floor plan engineered to make you tired and buy on impulse. There is no longer any need to worry about being misinterpreted as a shoplifter by the AI camera system at the self-checkout lane. There is no more risk of standing next to a scammer waiting to trick you into paying his Visa card load balance. And of course, there are no more awkward situations at the exit doors requiring you to explain or debate your rights. In other words, while most of what has been discussed is about how to protect yourself inside the store, this is how you can bypass stepping foot in there altogether while still getting exactly what you need. For an older adult, sometimes the smartest choice is not learning a new trick, but knowing when to avoid a risk entirely right from the start. If you only remember a single thing, remember this. Always look closely at the screen before paying. Always keep your receipt until you leave the parking lot, and do not hesitate to line up at a cashier-staffed lane when your shopping cart contains many complex items. Those 3 small habits can help you avoid the majority of the hassles mentioned in this video.